Is it time to slam down on the panic button with guys like Soto, Machado, and Manoah? Don't stress and lock on in as Matt and I fire up the worryometer on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, Matthew Arne.
Yo, it's good.
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. Just search for Locked On Fantasy Baseball, and we will be there. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we'd appreciate it if you could do both of those for us. If you enjoy the podcast, if you're one of our everydayers, or even if you're a new listener and you like what you hear, truly appreciate it. Helps the outreach of the podcast. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, you hit that little bell right below. It subscribes you to the channel, gives you a notification every time that we drop a new episode. Also, be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more and visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started today. And on today's episode, as I mentioned, Matt and I are firing up the old worryometer and letting you guys know if it's officially time to panic yet or not. And we have one of the superstars of the MLB still struggling a little bit. And Matt, who do we got?
We got Mr. Juan Soto. It's an odd day when we have to really talk about Juan Soto on the worryometer, but it seems like my guy is just swinging at everything under the sun with a 1.64 ERA. But I mean, the batting average is atrocious. But I mean, the counting stats are there. He's got 11 runs, 3 home runs, 7 ribs, a stolen base. Like, it's not all bad for Juan Soto. It just seems like, he's just kind of just like swinging at everything and kind of just missing the bat. I think he's just trying to get a groove there, and I think he's going to bounce back. My worryometer is probably about a 3 or 2 going on a 3 maybe. I'm not really worried yet. It's too early for Juan Soto, and I think he's bound to bounce back very soon.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would say maybe like a 3.5, 4 for me on the worryometer here with Juan Soto. It's kind of going up a little bit, every week that he kind of is still struggling. It seems like he's chasing a lot out of, balls outside of the zone. And even though the strikeout rate is good, 17 strikeouts to 17 walks, that's what Juan Soto is notorious for. He actually usually always has more walks than strikeouts. So the fact that he's even is actually kind of down for Soto. It's just it's been weird last, year and couple of weeks into this season, because last year he didn't really get any better as he, went over to the Padres from the Nationals. You thought that change of scenery might have helped. He hit 236 in 52 games last year with the Padres. He's not really stealing as many bases as he used to. I'm not sure exactly what it is. There's only so long we could say, oh, new team, new this, new that. We gotta just knock on wood and hope that Soto gets back to who he is. And I think it's still the buy low window. I'm probably not giving up a first round talent for Soto anymore. But, if you can get him package, a mid-round guy with, maybe a breakout type player and, get that deal for Juan Soto done. If you play in a league with a minor league system, maybe throw a couple of minor leaguers in and see how that goes, see if that gets it done. But, Juan Soto is still one of the best young talents in baseball. He's only 24 years old. Let's not write him off yet. That's pretty much all we got for you on Soto. Once again, we're not really slamming down on that panic button yet with Soto. But let's talk about his teammate. Let's talk about Manny Machado. Manny Machado getting a little older, 30 years old, and he's struggling a little bit too. So far on the season, Machado has played 18 games, 71 at-bats, 6 runs. He's got 3 doubles, only 1 bomb, 7 RBIs, 1 stolen base, and he's hitting .239. Now, with Machado, probably around the same as a Soto, around a 3, maybe 3.5 for Machado. I'm not sure if we could actually check. Is he notoriously a slow starter? I'm not even 100% sure. Matt, do you know if he's normally off the slow starter or not?
I can find out.
Yeah, I'm trying to see this here too. Let's check. Oh, well, I hit the wrong thing. So that's my fault, folks. Maybe Matt beats me to it here.
I'm going to.
Yeah, the thing with Machado is, he's on that good team. And same thing goes for Soto, that, Tatis comes back this week. So, let's see if, that helps. Actually, he normally starts off pretty hot. Yeah, he normally starts off pretty hot. April, March in his career, he hits 290. He's actually pretty solid all through the year. He actually finishes a bit more slow than he starts. So, maybe we do worry a little bit about Machado here, but I think Tatis coming back, is going to rally the troops. I think Soto and Machado get back to where they normally are. Third base is a tough position. Another guy you could buy low on.
Yeah, for sure. Machado is, going to be elite. It's a matter of when. I'm not really worried about him all too much. He's about a 1 for me, but he's here for, other people probably freaking out and going nuts with 3 weeks of baseball going on. Let's move on here to somebody that we're all frustrated with, and that's Mr. Eloy Jimenez. Eloy has been hurt, coming back from that hammy. Luckily, it wasn't a long-term thing like they originally thought, and he hasn't gotten a hit since he's been back, but it's funny, he's only in this season, he has half the amount of bats as everybody else. So, honestly, through, 4 games that he's actually played this season?
8
right?
games.
No, but I'm talking about since he's been back from the injury.
Since he's been back, yeah, I'm not sure, yeah.
4 games, and then he only played about 4 games. So yeah. I mean, you can't really go off much. So if you see anybody freaking out about Eloy in your league, go ahead and try and trade for him, because I mean, outside of injury, I don't think there's much of a doubt of what he's going to do. It's just let him get a little comfortable, and he's going to start smacking around that ball. It may even happen this weekend. We shall see. 4 games in the books is not enough for me to be out on a guy.
Yeah, the only thing I think there really is to worry about with Eloy is, the weak phalanges, as Matt would say. If you're not familiar with the phalanges term, it's just something that Matt threw out there and it kind of stuck. Just a term for an injury-prone player. He got that hamstring last year, this year, so he's probably still trying to, work on that. And then 2 years ago, he, tore his pec diving over the fence to catch a ball in spring training. So, it kind of reminds me of a young Bryce Harper in the sense you got to keep him from himself. Hopefully he can play DH more than not. I will throw out Eloy's numbers on the season. It's 8 games, 31 at-bats, 3 runs, 2 doubles, no bombs yet, 4 RBIs, no steals. He's not really a steals guy, and he hitting 161 with, playing those on-base percentage leagues. It's 257 on base. So, he's got a little bit here to work back from. Maybe that injury, that hammy still hurting him a little bit. But we'll see. Eloy is going to have that major breakout season one of these years where he hits 40 bombs or runs the RBIs are going to be elite, and he's going to hit, 300 or in that range, 280 to 300, somewhere around there. We're all just waiting on Eloy to do that, and I'm hoping it's this year, but, that is remained to be seen. Once again, Eloy's still only 26 years old, so, there's a chance that, he does still have that breakout year.
Yes, sir. All right. And before we talk about everybody else, we have some lovely people that like to talk about, and start off with eBay Motors. For championship team, it's all about making sure every player is perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs it just right. So next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part that will fit or get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence in the name of the game is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right price on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. We want to thank everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to look out for our new episode for tomorrow, where we go over something special and keep keep your team trucking through the season. All right. So, Dom, why don't you take it away with this next guy?
Yes, sir. Let's talk about Adolis Garcia right now. Adolis Garcia was actually somebody that was growing on me and Matt. We weren't always huge fans of his, but after quite a few years in a row of him, hitting the bombs and stealing the bases, I think both of us kind of jumped on the bandwagon, moved him with the inside of our top 20 outfielders. And he's off to a slow start here. Adolis Garcia, at 30 years old, has played 15 games this season, 60 at-bats, 10 runs, 1 double, 3 bombs, 14 RBIs, 1 steal, and he's batting .200 with 4 walks to 16 strikeouts. So it's been a little bit of a struggle here for Adolis. I love him in that Texas Rangers lineup. He hits right in the middle of it. I think he bounces back. I'm maybe at like a 4 here with Adolis Garcia, maybe like a 4.5, just because it is really only the 2021 and 2022 seasons where he did what he did. He's a big, strong man, so I think the power definitely bounces back. The guy is 6'1", 205, a muscle-built dude. Now, the thing is, let's see if those steals keep it up. He had a career high last year with those 25 steals. He had 16 in 2021. So let's see how that goes. I'm not once again, not slamming down the panic button nearly on anybody yet. So, there is still a chance here. If you could buy super low on Adolis Garcia and get him for, on the cheap, I would definitely take that opportunity right now, because I don't really see anything crazy if you look at his underlying stats as far as what the issue is here. So, I think Garcia bounces back. Once again, maybe not in the steals department, so I wouldn't bank on him for a whole bunch of steals, but I think he easily hits over 25 bombs, and the counting stats look pretty solid in that Texas lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a possibility. He might not get 25 stolen bases, but anywhere from like 17 to 20, I still think is a possibility by the end of the season, especially with the uptick in stolen bases this year with them being bigger. So Adolis does fare a chance to still kind of give you that benefit. I think that, we're going to see that average 250, and, the counting stats are going to be there because the Rangers are just good this year, and, they put a team around him. So Adolis definitely is a bounce back. He's about a 3 for me. We'll see if he needs to prove me, raise the alarms anymore. Let's move on to Alek Manoah, somebody everybody is worried about. And quite honestly, I am too. He's about a 6 on the Richter scale right now when it comes to being worried. And, with good reason, with having a 6.98 ERA from going from last year at a 2.24 ERA. And here's something we don't really talk about all that much, but FIP right now, his FIP is a 7. And like we talked about on our previous Worryometer show, last year, even though he had a 2.24 ERA, his FIP was a 3.35. So FIP is a little bit more of a projective stat because of the fact that it tells you what it would be with average defense behind you and how you're actually doing, and where your defense may have bailed you out is not now we're going to reflect in that stat, essentially. So Manoah was almost a stat, like a whole point behind in ERA, which tells you that he was really outperforming it by a lot, and he really should have been worse. Now, with that being said, I kind of think that we're now seeing the far end of the spectrum where things can go all wrong, and it's just rough. So I do think that, Alek Manoah is one of those people I'm kind of going to hold because of the draft capital I probably spent on him. But at the same time, if I am somebody out there that is seeing somebody freaking out, I might throw the cheapest deal on possible and see if it just hits and they're trying to get rid of him. But I'm not giving up anything major to go and get Alek Manoah because I am not sure where this is going to take us. I'm kind of scared to see where it can. So just be careful with the Alek Manoah owners and people that are going to try and grab him.
Yeah, see, I'm agreeing with you. I'm probably at about a 5.5 here on Manoah. The thing is he was being drafted so high this year where, I think most people taking him as a top 10, 15 pitcher. I had Manoah ranked around 25 at near the end of draft season. I was just kind of fading him for reasons that my brother Matt mentioned. The FIP, which is an ERA indicator, was, way off last year. He kind of outperformed it by a lot. And even if you look at his rookie year, same type of thing. In Manoah's rookie year, he had a 3.22 ERA, and the FIP was 3.80. So I could see Manoah being more of a 3.5 ERA guy, a little under a K per 9 or right at it. He's not going to, be crazy over that, K per 9. And the whip has always been good for him. But you know what? He's got 15 walks in 19 innings with only 16 strikeouts. So it's been a real tough going. That's why his whip is up at the 1.9 region. He's really not getting a lot of whiffs. Guys are barreling up the ball on him. They're hitting it hard, and he's not really getting a lot of chases outside of the zone. So it's been just real tough going here for Alek Manoah. Once again, I'm not giving up a lot for him, but he was still somebody I would try and trade for, just to see what the Alek Manoah owner is asking for him. Hey, if you could trade him for a guy that, like Anthony DeStefani, who's off to a hot start all day, take that all day long. But I'm not going out of my way to acquire Alek Manoah. Let's move on to our next guy here, and that is Mr. Kyle Wright. Now, Kyle Wright's just coming back from injury, and, he's working his way through things. So, it's not really a huge panic, button on him yet. But I will say this. Kyle Wright has never truly, been like a huge standout guy. He had that 1 year in 2021 in the minors where he was, at a K per 9, 3.02 ERA, and the WHIP was a 1.18. But besides that, and his monster, rookie year last year, his minor league career, he never really showed to be, overwhelming. Even in the majors, he never was fantastic. And, this year he's off with 2 starts. He has a 6.23 ERA, 8.2 innings pitched, 7 walks, 9 strikeouts, and it's a 1.7 WHIP. And even in the minors this year, he got lit up a little bit. He got tuned up in the 1 start he did make in the minors. It was 6 innings. He did have 6 Ks, but he gave up 5 earned runs, 7 hits. He walked a guy. He just didn't really look like the same pitcher as last year. Of course, Kyle Wright is only 27 years old, but I think he might get the highest number on the Worryometer for me right now out of all the guys we're going to talk about today. I might push it to a 6 because I'm just not sure he's going to be close to the guy he was last year, and it does have me worried. And I told you I would go out and trade for almost any other guy on this list. Kyle Wright's just I'm not even throwing an offer in that direction. There's other ways I'd rather go than Kyle Wright at the moment.
I mean, here's how I'm taking it, right? He's coming back from injury. He barely warmed up, and he barely even had some time to really take rest because they kind of rushed him up because, Fried went down and all that wonderful stuff. So they kind of he probably should have got another week down in the minors, in my opinion. So I think he's trying to, get himself back in shape. And honestly, it was really only his first start on April 11th against Cincinnati that was really atrocious. He had 3 Ks and 3 innings, 12 ERA. But in his second start on the 16th, which was 2 days ago on Sunday, against Kansas City, which has some decent bats in that lineup. By decent, I mean we talk about Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny B. He was able to get 6 Ks in 5.2 innings with a 3.18 ERA with a 1.24 WHIP. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to be a little bit of a slow start. I'm not too concerned yet. So right now I'm going to leave it at a 3. 3 is my baseline for guys that are on this list, essentially. He goes out there and has another big blow-up game where you're just like, what the hell just happened? Then I say, okay, worry about Kyle Wright. But other than that, I say, just calm down. Maybe even throw a cheap trade out. Somebody might be fed up with him too. But we'll see what happens. All right, Dom. I think you got somebody to talk about.
Yes, sir, I sure do. I'm really excited by our new partner and sponsor of today's episode, the mobile game Ultimate Baseball GM. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an MLB GM and managing your own professional baseball franchise? Well, guess what? Your dream has now come true. In this game, you get to manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaching staff and managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, and also managing those difficult personalities, navigating your franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs of a season. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable without Wi-Fi, so you can play on the go as you want, when you want. I've been absolutely hooked on this game since I've downloaded it. You can compete against your friends like Matt and I have been doing and talk trash, and you and your friends definitely need to do the same. Locked On Fantasy Baseball show listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store, so make sure to check it out. To download the game, you can visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or just look it up in the App Store. That's probaseballgm.com. Start your dynasty today. So next up, we got somebody that we've talked about before. If you've been a listener on the podcast, we've talked about him before, and he's getting a little up there in age. That is Lynn. Now, Lance Lynn was, had a tough break last year, had an injury, started off really tough when he came back from that injury, but he wound up having a monster dominant second half where he was a top 20 starting pitcher. And it looks like, 36-year-old Lance Lynn is off to a tough start again this year. 7.31 ERA, 3 games started, 16 innings, does have 21 strikeouts, which is nice to see, and only 7 walks, so that's not too shabby. With that 1.62 WHIP, so he's been a little bit tough here. I'm probably at about around a 5 on Lance Lynn as well. Probably my second, most worried about guy on this list behind Kyle Wright. Now, the thing with Lance Lynn, we've seen him do it before. We've seen him start off slow before and then catch his stride, which I think is going to happen with more pitchers than we think this season, because it's just been really, really tough for starting pitching and the go-around here at the beginning. His fastball velocity is down a little bit from last year. The cutter's down a little bit. It looks like almost all his pitches are down a tiny bit when you're talking about velocity. Even that curveball and that slider are down about 1.5 miles an hour. So maybe he just needs to ramp up a little bit more in his old age. At 36, it's tough to get that engine going. So the strikeouts are still there. The walks aren't absolutely crazy. It's more he's just giving up some blooper hits here. And once again, I'm not fully ready to slam my hand down on the panic button. He has given up 6 home runs, though, which is way more than you want to see in 3 starts. So that's about 2 a game, or, about 1.5 per game here in the early going. So once again, I'm about 5 on Lance Lynn. I'm not necessarily going out and, trading for Lance Lynn either. If you have him, you kind of just hold, and hopefully things get a little bit better like they did last year in the second half, with Lynn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's how I'm breaking down kind of like what he's been like in the early starts of the season, right? So I went back to 2019 and I went back to 2021, and it seems like March, April is a really tough month for him. I don't know what it is. He just, I guess, is a slow starter, because in May of 2019, he went from a 5 ERA down to a 3 ERA. In 2021, which is the big year, he went from a 13.5 ERA to a I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong month here. No, I'm lying. That was 2021, was just absolutely ridiculous. But in 2019, sorry, I was like, they do pitching and hitting. But in 2019, he had that slow start, and it was just brutal. And then he came out and just was phenomenal for the rest of the season. So maybe we're seeing a little bit more of that, where he's just a slow starter, especially with his older age. I mean, the other shoe can drop. He's about a 4.5 for me right now. We'll see how it plays out by the end of the month. If he starts getting hot towards the end of the month, hey, you're gold if you held him. I don't know if I'm trading for him, being that he's an age 36, but whatever. Anyway, let's move on to a name that everybody is also really freaked out about. And that's Mr. Good old Blake Snell. Now, we both told you to draft Blake Snell this year, and with good reason. We thought he wasn't going to throw his changeup, and he's not, but he's still terrible. So I just don't know what to say here. I mean, all his stats kind of look good. It's kind of crazy. The only thing that we see really that sticks out is he lost like a mile per hour on his fastball. That's really just about it. But he's just going out there and getting lit up against the Mets, Atlanta, and Colorado. He's got Atlanta again. So here's my advice for Blake Snell, because he's right now about a 4, maybe a 5, is I wouldn't start him for a bad matchup until he proves that he can go out there and do it a few games in a row. And then if it's like a good matchup, like, I don't know, playing like Pittsburgh, then you can kind of roll him out and feel a little bit confident. Because right now, like Blake Snell, you're drafting to be pretty much matchup proof, and unfortunately, he's not doing that. Hopefully, we don't have to wait until the second half like we did last year for this glorious Blake Snell run. So let's just see. Let's play it safe. I'm not dumping him. I'm not dropping him, but I'm damn sure not starting him right now. So he's a hold for me at a 4.5, 5.
Yeah, I think I'm right on par with you. I'm going to call it a 4.5 on Blake Snell on the worryometer. He did a great breakdown there. The thing normally is that Blake Snell loves to throw that changeup, and that usually is what screws him in the end, because it's not a great pitch. But I think by my account, he's maybe thrown 3 changeups all year, so you can't blame it on the changeup anymore. The command is absolutely piss poor in the sense of, he's giving up a lot of hits, a lot of walks. I tried to look at his, career splits month by month. He's normally pretty good at the beginning of the season in March/April. In his career, he's thrown 129 innings in March and April, 3.35 ERA. The whip is good, a lot of strikeouts, 151 strikeouts, those 129 innings. Then he's usually pretty bad in May and June. And then that second half is where, Blake Snell normally turns it on. But it's going to be tough to hold him and just sit around and wait for that second half breakout like he did last year. But that seems like it's going to be what you have to do right now if you drafted Blake Snell, because we all know when Blake Snell is doing his thing and he's rocking and rolling, he's a top 20 starting pitcher in baseball. Big strikeout guy. He's usually a decent ERA guy. The whip is usually, pretty decent as well. Let me go back here and let's just talk about Blake Snell's whole career. On Blake Snell's whole career, 57 wins, 48 losses, a 3.47 ERA, and 162 starts, 825 innings, 1,005 strikeouts in those 825 innings. So he's a strikeout machine when he's on. And, the whip isn't too shabby. Yeah, it's a little bit high at a 1.26, but I think that's inflated by, the 2.15 this year. So if you take that out, the whip is, looking a little bit better. And then he had that rookie year where he wasn't great either, and that's a 1.61. So let's actually do that, and let's see what that whip turns out to be. If we take out those two, we get right around, it's still like a 1.2, a 1.19 actually, which isn't horrible. So Blake Snell has the upside of an ace. I'm holding, I'm standing pat, and I'm just going to see what that second half, brings. Hopefully he could turn it on before then. Otherwise, as Matt said, you play the good matchups, in his matchup, you guys already know the results of that one. We're recording here, on Tuesday in the afternoon. So we don't know how he did tonight against the Braves. I'm benching him for tonight against the Braves, and it may make me look silly, but, I can't trust it right now. And then he gets Arizona. So I'm going to throw him back out there against Arizona, even if he does bad against the Braves, and hopefully things look a little bit better. If he gets trashed in that Arizona start, I'm going to go from like a 4.5 to like a 6.5 on the worryometer. And, we'll see how it goes from there. But, Matt, anything else you want to chime in before we wrap things up over here?
No, I think we're good, man.
All right, brother. So, guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out our website if you already haven't. Trying to keep those waiver wire names up on the website. You got all access to all of our episodes. You got a little bit of more about us on the website. And as always, thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. If you're one of our everydayers, or even if you're a new listener, we appreciate you as well. And guys, be sure to look out for a new episode tomorrow, where I believe we're doing a buy low and sell high type of episode. But guys, until then,
peace.